Here we're going to look at turning decimals into percentages. Now, you may remember from the last few videos where we changed fractions into percentages, that percentages are just numbers out of 100. So if we have something like 30%, we can write that as 30 out of 100. Or 5% can be written as 5 out of 100. So that makes turning decimals into percentages really easy, because decimals rely on a place value system which has a place for the hundredths. So all we need to ask ourselves when we're turning a decimal into a percentage is how many hundredths we have. So if we look at the ones that I have on the left-hand side over there, the first one is 0.05. So in the number 0.05, the first 0 is in the units place. The next one is in, after the decimal point, is in the tenths place. And the second number after the decimal point is in the hundredths place. So to figure out how many hundredths we have, all we need to do is ask how much hundredths are there in the decimal. So in this particular one, we have nothing in either of the other two place values that we can see there, but we have a 5 in the hundredths place. Now, before we've looked at writing that as a fraction, 5 hundredths, but now instead we're going to write that as a percentage. We're going to write that as 5%. 5% is just another way of saying 5 hundredths. If we look at this second one here, the hundredths place is the second one after the decimal point, so the 2 in this case. We have a 2 in the hundredths place, but we've also got a 3 in the next place value up. So we have 32 hundredths, or 32%. With this next one, we've got a 1 in the tenths position, and we've got nothing in the units position. Another way of writing nothing is putting a 0. So we'll put a 0 there to signify that there's no hundredths, but we do have 1/10, or we could write that as 10 hundredths in total. So that's going to leave us with 10%. Now that's okay when we have fairly nice looking decimals where we've only got a couple of digits, but sometimes we'll have more complicated looking numbers, such as this one here, 0.614, 1.35, 0.003, and 20.5. We're going to do all of these using a slightly different method. So the difference with all of these ones is the hundredths place isn't just the last digit in the number. So here we've got our hundredths place is the 1. This one, it is the last digit, but we've got this extra 1 before the decimal point. In this one, it's this one here, the 0. And on this last one, we actually don't have a hundredths place. We're going to have to put an extra 0 there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a slightly different method. What we're going to do is take the decimal and we're going to multiply it by 100, just like we did when we were doing the fractions. So to multiply a decimal by 100, another way to do that is to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So with this one, we're going to have 61.4%. This one here, moving the decimal place 2 places to the right, gives us 135%. Now, because we had more than a whole with 1.35, 1 whole 0.35, that's why we had a number, a percentage that is more than 100%, because 100% would be 1 whole. So that's how we can check that we've got a percentage that makes a little bit of sense. With this next one, we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right as before, 1, 2, and it's going to end up here. So we'll end up with 0.3%. So that's less than 1%. So that there was the 3 was in the thousandths place. So 3 thousandths is the same as 0.3%. And with this last one, we're going to take the decimal point, we're going to move it 2 places to the right, and we've added in an extra placeholder 0 there. We'll put the decimal place down, and we're going to end up with a nice whole number for this one. That's 2050%. So for every 1 whole, we've got 100%. 20 times 100 is 2,000, so that's why we've got 2050. So that's how we turn a decimal into a percentage. If it's a nice easy one, sometimes you can just have a look at the number and you can see how many hundredths there are. If it's a bit more complicated, then think about just moving the decimal place 2 places to the right.